Is the screen on?
Is it? Yeah.
Okay, view sign.
The Last Supper.
Yeah.
Should we get
First supper,
We even have-
more to come.
We're good to go?
Yes.
Bobby, you can hear us, no problem?
Yes, I can, thank you.
Perfect. All right, let's call the meeting to order, the Environment and Sustainability Committee meeting for Monday, October 28th. Any declarations of conflicts of interest?
None.
Seeing none, before I move along, we have our committee members here. We also have Councilor Yankoff, who wanted to join in on the committee meeting. So, welcome. Can I have approval of the agenda?
Moved.
Second by the mayor, second by Trevor. Can I have approval of the minutes from October 3rd, 2024? Moved by the mayor, seconded by Councilor McKinnon. Any business arising from the minutes?
Climate action.
Go ahead.
Page 2. Just wanted to follow up that on the website, well, actually our site, portal site, charlottetownhall.ca. Just wanted to pass on to Jessica or Katrina that getting to the recommendations, action plans, I think they're about over 100. If we just try to get that out, how to get to it, because I had to navigate through the whole
Too many
document.
clicks to get
Yeah,
there?
because
Okay.
you go to online platform, then you go to click here
Okay,
again, and if we can
bring
get
it up close.
and if we could have paper copies available, I know we said that
Yeah, it's the
for
front desk.
seniors, because some seniors will not be going online.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to follow, the recommendations, there's a lot there, a lot of work ahead, so it's good,
No, and I think the presentation was good,
really good.
but it was also quick.
Yeah.
And I think to go on that site is really important. I think a lot of people will be impressed, and I think there's a lot of good recommendations, and I think comment on them.
Yeah, and it's just, Jared, just when you go to the opening page at charlottetownhall.ca, it has climate action plan, but to see the actions, you have to go to online platform. And then to see all the recommendations, one after another, you have to go to click here to review the instructions of using the platform. Then there's icons at the top to click on, so it's just trying to navigate it, simplify the process. But other than that, it looks great.
No, when Jessica and Katrina went over it with me, I thought it was really
Yeah.
good. But Jessica, can it be simplified a little bit more on our?
There might be a way to make the end link more at the top, so you don't have to keep drilling down. So we can look into that.
Okay, all right.
And Mr. Chair, it fits perfectly with a document that we don't always talk about, our strategic plan for 22-26. It fits right into that pillar of infrastructure and the environment, so all those connections would be great.
Well, we aim to please.
We do, thank you.
All right, let's go into reports and discussions. So the battery electric buses tender award, Jessica?
Thank you, Chair. So this is an exciting report for me to bring forward because it's one of our first steps in committing to our net zero goals and working towards fleet electrification. So we're seeking council approval to award Nova Bus with a tender to supply 4 battery electric buses. These would be delivered in the spring of 2026, so that's kind of the turnaround time on that production. So in the recommendation, the 4 buses would come in at $6,492,288 before tax. And this was part of our ISIP funding that was developed a couple of years ago, where we budgeted $5,309,370 before tax for these buses. So since then, the prices, like many things, have gone up. And because this is a capital area transit system, the difference in the budget would be split between the 3 municipalities. So the shortfall for the city of Charlottetown would be $887,188. Just to give you a little bit of background, so we currently have 18 full-size buses in our fleet. And the vast majority of those are 2007 and 2008 buses. So they are long past their recommended lifespan, and we need to work on replacing buses. If we purchase these buses, this will basically be replacing existing fleet. So this isn't an expansion of fleet to allow us to grow even more. This is just basically a status quo service replacement.
So
And-
just if I could ask.
Yep.
We had already ordered some diesel buses to come in for
Six.
next year, 2025.
3 came in a week ago and 3 come in at the end of 2025, and then these would be 2026.
Okay, perfect. The 6.492, the cost for the 4 electric buses and our cost is 887. Is that just an increase in our budget or is that our cost?
That's an increase in the
In our
budget.
capital
So
budget, yeah.
the way the ISEP funding works is you're basically getting these buses at a 70% reduced
Right.
cost.
Okay.
So between the federal contribution, the provincial contribution, and then the municipal split between the 3 municipalities.
So this price that we're seeing here, Jessica, the 6.4 million,
Yeah,
and they're expected to come in 26.
yes,
So the cost of the bus is locked in now. It's not like in late
Correct.
2025, the costs have gone up, we need more money. This is
Yeah.
locked in now.
correct.
Once we accept
And
this.
it would go in the budget for that delivery time.
Yeah, so
So
it's just the
the-
it's 887 that we need to add to our capital budget.
Correct.
Okay.
And if you look at the financial section of the report, I put a table in to help understand that. So the total cost is 6.492. The approved funding currently is 5.3.
Yeah.
The difference is 1.1829. And then the 3-way split between the municipalities would look like that.
Yeah.
So
That 3-way split, so ISIP doesn't increase any from what was approved.
no, I
The
mean,
three
we
municipalities
can.
have to
We
cover the
can
difference.
try that. I've been in conversations with our contact asking for that opportunity, but they pointed out in the agreement, it says that the ultimate recipient's responsible for any overages on their projects.
That's
but-
why I wondered, and the reason I'm asking is because our shoreline repair in Victoria Park has gone up in cost.
Yeah.
And from the presentation we had, they were gonna go back and ask for more money.
Yeah.
But usually those contracts are pretty locked in once you get approved.
It is locked in. I feel there's no harm in asking.
No, it's not, that
Yeah.
was when I asked you if you could.
Yeah.
Um,
Because it hadn't been before council and the numbers, we hadn't awarded it, I couldn't really go to the province and
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
this is the situation, but now if council approves this, then we could go back and say.
And that's okay, what I'm wondering is, has the other municipalities okayed this?
They're aware of this, yes.
They're aware.
Yeah, they need to take it through their respective councils,
Okay.
but they're aware of, so we meet at least monthly with the Capital Area Transit Coordinating Committee,
Okay.
and this was on the agenda of our last meeting.
Perfect. Your worship, Trevor,
All good.
Bobby?
I'm
Good news.
done.
Well, I can be done, yeah.
I just wanna go back, on page 7, it's 6.5 million, okay? That's what the 4 electric buses are. Off that 6.5, you said 70% is ISIP or federal provincial money?
73.
Yeah, so 73.3 is the original ISIP agreement of funding we get. But if you factor in how much we have to pay extra, it still works out to be about 70% less than the cost listed here that we're getting the buses at.
So, and it's a capital region systems because it's T3.
Correct.
What's Stratford and Cornwall's paying?
15% for
It's
Stratford,
for both?
10%.
it's right there.
Yeah, I know, I'm just trying to get the numbers,
10%
just for
for
the public
Cornwall.
record. Because everybody doesn't see that on the screen, they only see what we're hearing, they're only seeing and hearing what we're talking about, so that 15%, they have to put in some extra money too, correct?
Correct.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay,
And that's why I was wondering if they approved it, and it hasn't gone through them yet, but
no,
Yeah.
you don't anticipate any problems? Or you
I
can't-
don't, I mean, they are aware of it and they're aware they have to, they were happy to hear the requirement wasn't for this fiscal year budget, that it's for a future fiscal budget.
No, I'm just wondering, I guess, if this is gonna come to our next council meeting, can't really come until we know that they've approved their end.
Usually it goes to our, because we're 75% stakeholder, it usually goes to our committee first and then it goes to their committees. But like I said, and we've met with their CAOs from both municipalities and they're aware that it's being put in as the increased budget needs to be split the 3 ways. As we have a terms of reference for the committee, which outlines how the costs are split, so they advise that we put in the report that the extra budget needed would be split as per the
And that's what happened with the Simmons Arena. I mean, the costs have gone up.
Yeah,
We gotta cover.
we do divvy in, yeah. But if we pass it and they don't pass their, we're still going ahead with the buses, but how we get that money from, I think there's no problem from Stratford Cornwall putting their money on the table, because they know the system's working for them. So I think if we need a resolution, I'll move it.
And I'll, if I can interject, Mr. Chair, I had Anna, who's really great at math skills. I had her help me pull together some numbers, which is around, what does this mean if we get rid of diesel buses, bring on electric buses? Because we're getting these buses at such a significant discount, if you look at the capital costs and the operational cost savings that we have, it's over the lifespan of each electric bus, which is roughly 13 years. We're going to save in the long run about just under $200,000 per bus over its lifetime. Because we're getting
In
them
fuel
at
costs or what?
everything. You throw it all together, yep,
Fuel
so
maintenance, fuel
everything,
costs,
yeah,
which is hard to determine because we don't know
yeah,
what
that's
our
our
gas costs
estimate,
are gonna be. but-
for sure, yeah.
Bobby, do you have any questions?
No, that's great, thank you.
Okay, everybody good?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. Active transportation plan.
Mr. Chair, I move the resolution.
Second,
We have to approve the
go to
money,
council.
correct? You need a
You wanna do that
resolution?
now or you wanna do it at the end when we do them all?
No, just do it right now.
Do each one as we
Go ahead.
go.
Go ahead, you wanna move it?
I'll move it.
Second,
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Active transportation plan contract award,
Very good.
that would be Anna.
It is.
Anna's all excited, ready to go.
Yeah. I do find this a tremendously exciting project. So purpose of this report is just to inform council of the results of the RFP that we put out at the start of September and it closed early October. This is for a 10-year active transportation plan, which is a $100,000 item in this year's budget, 50% of which is funded by the Provincial Active Transportation Fund. We had 4 proponents, 3 of them passed our technical scoring. We had myself, Riley from Public Works, and Christopher from Parks and Rec doing the scoring. So we had all of the involved departments involved in the committee. 3 of them passed the technical scoring threshold that we'd set out in the RFP. They were Fathom, Parsons, and WSP. And then after we opened their financial submissions, we found all of those 3 were sort of within $6,000 of each other, so ranging from $80,000 to $86,000 for the project. And the winning bid, when the technical and financial proposals were combined, was WSP, which was the $83,000 bid, so in the middle of that pricing. We got the RFP out a little bit later than we had hoped, so the project is likely to conclude in May of 2025. I see I've accidentally put 2024 in this report, that's a typo, so May of next year, in next financial year. But we have already received 50% of the funding from the province, so we should be able to use this financial year's budget to pay out the sort of progress that we get to by the end of March, and then we get the remaining 50% or the remaining expenses from the provincial grant upon the close of the project, and we can use that to pay the final installment in next year's budget.
So you're talking about the cost of doing this,
Yes, so
so there's funding going towards that, obviously.
yes. So this is, I suppose the recommendation is that council awards WSP the contract for the creation of the 10-year plan in the amount of their bid, which is $83,425 before tax, which is within our budget allocated. And I'll say that WSP's submission was very strong, and they have a unit that's quite specialized in active transportation and includes I suppose reference to international best practice.
So what Anna is the idea of, like, what's the goals that was in the RFP for a consultant to come in and do an active transportation plan for us?
So the city's last active transportation plan was written in 2012. And it was a 10-year plan, so we've sort of reached the end of that plan, and we need a new, it's about direction setting for the next 10 years. similar to the 10-year public transit plan exercise to give some direction to like which infrastructure projects shall we do. In the RFP, we quite clearly put, because all of you would be very familiar with the Bike Friendly Communities Network recommendation that they did 2 years ago, which is a recommendation for how to complete the network of separated cycle paths across the city. We have some really great infrastructure going on, but they're not connected to each other. And so this project really begins with a review of that proposal that came from the community and stakeholder engagement of that organization and
From
many
Bike-
others.
From Bike Friendly.
Yeah.
Which we have a plan, the last one they gave us. I guess my question, I'll bear it down to it, is why do we need to go to a consultant? When we have, I thought we had a regional group for active transportation. And we have like what Bike Friendly put on in their proposal. I'm just wondering, do we need to, because consultants just gonna go over and review their proposal, I assume, and then make recommendations out of that.
They're going to review the proposal and then also go into much more depth. So there's already existing plans for new active transportation builds. So for example, on University Avenue, North River Road, Spencer Drive, they've all got infrastructure projects. This consultant will be looking at that, creating, a 10-year map to say this is where we're going to get to. Some of what was written in Bike Friendly Communities plan is now outdated after 2 years, or there is new information that they weren't aware of at that time, so they'll be updating it. And we're also asking them to propose quite concrete phases for, what projects should we be doing in the next, 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, so that we've got those plans laid out, and to do cost estimates so that we're able to actually include it in our capital budget. And I think that sort of Class D cost estimates is what's beyond our current staff capacity to be able to deliver for each of the next financial years. And in addition, having a 10-year plan really supports and increases our eligibility for both federal and provincial grants for each of those capital projects, because we can apply and they can say, we can say to them, this project, which will cost this amount, is contributing towards our 10-year goals.
So in this plan, where is there an opportunity for elected officials to put in their requests?
Yes, there will be consultation. Your council is definitely listed as one of the stakeholders in the initial consultation, and then there's going to be a round of public consultation on sort of initial proposals before it's finalized. Yep.
Okay.
Trevor, did you have a question? I think you were jumping in there.
Yeah, I was just wondering, has WSP worked in the past with the city? Has any of our-
Yes, yeah, they've worked with
Worldwide.
on North River Road, for example, and there was Public Works was listed as one of their references, and they got a thumbs up on the I also checked references not only from internally but the other references that were listed, and they were all
Yeah, they've done a
positive.
fair amount of work for the
Yeah.
city. Bobby, do you have any questions on this?
No, great,
good?
thank you.
Your worship, you have
Yeah,
any
so Mr.
questions?
Chair, so if you look at page 11, and it says, again, these are the framework that you're working with, they're pretty standard goals, reducing car dependence, promoting equitable participation in the economy and a community for all ages. So when you're doing that RFP or RFQ, these were some of the parameters, these are some of the goals that we were looking at, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And we also, part of the project proposal includes creating metrics and measurements so that we're not just thinking about these benefits in sort of a vague way, but we're actually going to say, okay, if we do this work correctly and fully implement this plan, we should be getting to this sort of ridership score, and we can track that and have reports on the progress that we're making each year.
And as the chair has said, bike-friendly communities, they already, I attended some of their community meetings. So that'll be part of the research and information they'll be using. Now, does this also talk about connecting to Stratford? Now, again, it might be in here, Cornwall and Charlottetown, how do we integrate that? Because we're still talking about this capital region advisory committee, I don't know where that's at.
Yeah.
But I think that should be part of the plan.
So the province, Cornwall and Stratford all have their own active transportation plans. So Charlottetown is sort of the centerpiece of that can connect all of those. And so that will be it's going to be a useful tool to enable that collaboration. At last month's meeting, I reported how we were holding on forming that regional committee until the net zero transportation officer was hired within ECA at the province, Environment, Energy and Climate Action. And I'm really happy to report that that staff member started about 10 days ago. So I haven't met them yet, but I anticipate meeting them on Wednesday at the Active Transportation Summit in Stratford. And so that'll really help to move things along, having that provincial
Good,
staffer in
good.
place.
So, Mr. Chair, just the $100,000 that was allocated for the project, we were to put 50 in from us and
Yes.
50 in from the province? That's still on the,
Yes, yep.
okay, so it's 50, great.
So I take it from that, then, Anna, that this is mostly, consultants, when they're looking at this, looking mostly at Charlottetown and the connections that can be made to Charlottetown.
Yes, so we already have the connections on the causeway and the bridge and even out to Brackley and the neighbouring northern municipalities, but a review of the active transportation plans of neighbouring municipalities and meeting with those staff is part of what we're looking for. Wayfinding and signage and having a common sort of way for people to navigate and standard designs is definitely something that we want to achieve, because we don't want different people get used to looking at a certain type of signs. We don't want that to change when you cross the bridge.
Jessica?
Yeah, it kind of got touched on, thank you, Chair. I was just going to add, so I just wanted to remind people, our last plan, a real focus of that was connecting to Stratford and Cornwall,
Yeah.
which was completed
Yeah.
as part of that plan. Now it's really about diving into how do we get people around Charlottetown when they're
Okay,
in the
that's
city.
good. So having said that, what would be the need, I guess, to put a regional active transportation committee together? If we have consultants come back and make recommendations for us, and we have the connections that are made, and what would be the benefit?
Yeah, I think it'll be more of a working group
Yeah.
than a committee, and it may meet quarterly just for the purpose of coordination and informing each other of the different pieces of work that are going on. And in addition, there might be, if there is Green Municipal Fund funding available, we might choose to put in a sort of similar to CATCC, what we do for transit, we might submit one funding application that covers a similar scope of work across 3 municipalities, just to avoid duplication of administrative effort across the 3.
Okay.
And again, Mr. Chair, this is great working together, and I'd love to work with Brackley because we still have that pathway to nowhere. It stops out there and just beyond Brackley. I'd love to see that continue right to the beach, because
Yeah,
there
there's a
is,
reason they couldn't.
money
No
and politics.
money.
But anyways, that would be nice to see that part of that capital region group too.
Yeah.
Because we could find, hopefully, support to finish off that trail.
The one that goes down the Brackley Point Road?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Right, past the
Jim
commons.
Brackley?
Yeah.
And you want to see it go out to the beach?
That's was the intent. Because the beach rate from
Who would
Brackley,
put money into it?
well, that's something this working group could not access, but search out possible funding.
Well, that's always been the provincial jurisdiction.
It is,
The
it
provincial
is.
government pay for it, so they can decide that. I don't think we need to come in and tell them.
That's why we need the
Anyway.
pressure them on.
Okay, any other questions,
Moved,
comments?
I'll move it.
Geez, you're moving everything. You're excited with this stuff, right?
Sir, looks
Trevor, you wanna
good.
move it?
It's a great,
First,
it's a
I
great.
wanna move
Yeah,
that.
Trevor's gonna move. You want to second it, or Bob, you want to second it?
Council's wrong to second it.
Councilor,
Yeah, I'll
you want to
second
second
it.
that?
Sure,
There you go.
sure.
We're gonna move it and second it. We all in favor?
Aye.
So we would be. Thank you.
What, yeah,
Go ahead.
nope, we're good, move on.
Okay, exploring province-wide transit coordination. Anna, you're up again.
yes, I am. Okay. So this is to follow up on a conversation that emerged from the urban mayors meetings, the last one of which was in September, and I think the topic was originally raised back in June of 2023 or mid 2023.
Okay.
And it's just in recognition that there is a very significant, of our municipal transit system, a very significant amount of the funding that we get from that comes from the province in one form or another. They've always invested $180,000 since 2012. In the last 2 years, they added another $475,000 as a direct municipal subsidy. And in addition, there's more than $1 million that they provide in subsidies to to riders to reduce the cost of fares.
We could thank Minister Myers for that, by the
Yeah.
way.
The what?
475?
Yeah.
The extra 475.
Well, is it 475? That includes the 180. It's
No,
an
it's in
increase.
addition, it's in addition,
It's in addition.
so the total is
The chair also
six.
worked on it too by making some phone
Yeah.
calls.
Excellent.
A
And
dinner meeting. Anyway, just joking.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And so the province is contributing in these different ways. These grants tend, except with the exception of that $180,000 grant, these grants tend to be, they're not on a long-term commitment, they're on a year-to-year basis. It does make it very difficult for ongoing transportation
The
planning.
commitment we had was the 475 and the 180 was ongoing.
The 180 is certainly ongoing, the 475 is not annually, but it has been paid the last 2 years.
And-
Yeah.
And so the conversation I had was, it would be,
I don't have that on paper, I would love to have it on paper.
and
If,
that's why they've given it the last couple of years, but I mean, I was told it will continue, so if it's not on paper,
Yeah.
we can ask for it.
yeah, we
Not confirmed.
we needed to wait until I suppose we included it in the budget and then we had to wait quite some time to get a confirmation that it would be paid this year and that,
So have we got it the last 2 years?
yes.
And has there been any problem getting it?
We get a letter, we request confirmation every year and then we get a letter each year saying, but we asked if we could get a longer term commitment than that, but we haven't received that.
That's why we get a better deal from the tax equity between the province and the municipalities.
So who's the
Transit
minister,
anymore.
who's the minister now?
Gilles Arsenault,
Gilles Arsenault de
Wellington,
Wellington, eventually.
eventually.
You should be able to just get you just want it firmed up, just want a letter of
So
commitment.
this report is not directly about just firming up those funding amounts. It's more about looking at a longer term relationship between the province and municipalities on transit. We know that we have the same operator for our municipal transit system as we do for the provincial transit system. And yet we've got very separate sort of contracts and coordination. Staff looked into how regional coordination happens in other jurisdictions. We looked at, other places in Canada, for example, across British Columbia, they have BC Transit, which is a province-wide. Obviously, that's a much larger jurisdiction than we are. We also looked at, Greater Toronto and Hamilton area, the Montreal area, and the governance arrangements. We had some professional advice, helping us to understand the way that those governance arrangements work. And they also looked south of the border at Delaware and Connecticut, which are much more similar in geography and population to PEI. And the way that route setting happens, the way that operational planning happens, payment not only for operational subsidies, which is all of those amounts I just spoke about, but in addition, capital payments, which are largely funded again by higher orders of government. There's a lot of scope to explore improvements in the way that we work together, and for a province of 175,000 people now, I had to increase that number recently, 175,000 people. I think there's this sense that it makes sense for us to be talking about one island transit system, one set of fares, having a consistent user experience for people who are riding the transit system. All the information is in one place, and so that's a conversation we'd like to advance. From informal conversations with provincial staff, they seem quite interested in the model, or in exploring what a model could look like. And that's really what we're looking for endorsement from council to do, is just to endorse staff beginning to have those conversations to create
That makes sense.
a
That makes
model.
sense.
Yeah, we don't need to make decisions now about what that could look like, but in the report, we do identify sort of 6 prioritized municipal goals for what could become a provincial transit governance framework, which, if they weren't achieved, we wouldn't want to go ahead with this. But it includes that some provincial transit governance framework would simplify administration and governance, identify a clear long-term funding formula, retain full municipal decision-making control over routes and service hours within municipal boundaries, that it would improve efficiency in capital procurement, so remove duplication of effort, that it would achieve a consistent rider experience province-wide, and that it would support transparency, accountability, and value for money while delivering a reliable service.
Yep, no, Makes sense. Any questions?
Just a housekeeping comment, I think it's in the wording, and Richard's here, but the purpose of it was to inform council of discussions. Then staff recommendations that council directs staff, and I didn't think council were allowed to direct staff. I've been told personally,
Yeah,
so
but-
it's in the wording, I think we
My-
need to change the wording.
My
Advise.
understanding is that council
Something.
as a whole may direct staff,
Yeah.
but individual councillors may not. So if council as a whole would like to direct staff to engage with their provincial counterparts, I
Just
believe,
basic
and Richard can
rules.
probably confirm that that's
Yeah.
within
Yeah.
the rules.
So they're looking for approval to move ahead. It makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, just wanted to ask about, it was discussed at the urban mayor's meeting there in September. Did you have an opportunity to bring this up with the Federation of Prince Edward Island Municipalities? Is that something that's gonna be on your, sort of your roadshow?
We have not yet, so being the urban mayors, that's the 3 capital area municipalities plus Summerside, which is a fairly significant portion of
And they don't have
FPEI.
transit yet.
They actually do have one, very low frequency bus. I
Oh.
see T3 signs when I go to Summerside. But speaking as somebody who's worked for a very small rural municipality,
Like Victoria.
I know that having a provincial governance framework would support smaller municipalities that may not have the capacity of the urban centres to be able to begin to adopt transit within their very small towns, or at least to connect it to a province-wide system.
And what I brought up at the urban mayor's meeting, Mr. Chair, was that the province has a provincial mandate. So they go from East Point to West Point, North Shore to South Shore. Our mandate is about the municipality or the capital region. It's gonna be interesting how that amalgamates or consolidates it so that we can have this point-to-point transit system. Again, we've
But
had,
I think it's worth having the discussion.
look, I fully
Where
agree.
it goes, we don't know, we'd have to approve, but I think it's really well worth having the discussion.
Yeah, no.
And now that they have a net zero transportation officer, I think that's probably who you're gonna be dealing with, right?
Yes.
So I think, to me, it makes a lot of sense to start those discussions.
The
We'll see where they
The
go.
province has a net zero officer?
This is yes, like me, they're responsible for bikes and buses, and they just started 10 days ago. His name is Logan Dawson.
Oh, is that who it is?
Yeah.
Great guy. Okay, thank you.
Bobby? Any comments?
Nope, no questions at all, thank you.
Everybody's okay with that?
Is there a motion?
Well,
Or
yeah,
perhaps there is
we'll,
I'll move it.
of course you will.
I'll let Bobby second this one.
Bobby, you wanna second it?
Sure, why not?
There we go, okay. Moved and seconded, everybody in favor?
Yes.
Good. You know, it's a funny thing, you have a mover and a seconder, so you already have a
2 votes.
majority,
Yeah.
so.
The seconder can vote against it, that's happened before.
Well.
Oh, yes.
Even the mover
See, the
can.
mover voted
Mover and the
against it
seconder,
before.
so you already got enough to pass it, but anyway, all right, anything else? That's it for the agenda, is there anything else you wanna bring
One more
up?
item.
No bus
One
stop.
more item.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Bus stop shelter project management services, Jessica, sorry to
Yes.
cut you off.
Thank you, Chair. One more item around.
I got another session I gotta go to, but anyway, I got a half hour, go ahead.
Okay. Anna and others have been working really hard at looking into our bus stops around the city, and we've done a complete inventory of them, including location and
Yes, I heard that, yeah.
safety analysis, what they are standing on, whether it's the side of the road, gravel, turf, sidewalk. And we've begun ranking them as far as what needs more priority focus than others.
It's just the shelters.
Shelters and
Shelter
bus stops in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
We had requested capital funds to work on this project this year, and as we got diving into it, we realized we really needed support in that we're looking at things like property lines and easement agreements to use the property, what's underground, specs for concrete pads, specs for shelters, sight lines, traffic.
Which is
So-
all pretty important.
which is all really
Very
important, we
important.
wanna get it right, and so we have received quotes from 2 companies, Harborside and Vigilant, for project management services to support us in planning for 50 bus stop improvements and to come up with a plan for shelters. So design and locations, so that when we reach the next budget season, we can hit the ground running and just do installations and all the groundwork's done.
Perfect.
So Harborside came in at highest score, as you can see in the table, 89 out of 100, and their price is $51,082.50 before tax, and they will work with us for the rest of the fiscal year to prepare for bus stop improvements, concrete pads, and bus shelters around the city.
Okay. That's really good news. Nice to get ahead of the things. You're right. Do you have any questions, Trevor?
No.
So it's probably good, because as you know, we've had some elected officials requesting bus shelters here and bus shelters there, so it'd be nice to have a more organized plan, and kind of, I look at it as kind of priority. This has gotta go here because, this should go here because, so better expenditure of the dollars if we're gonna do it. So, yeah. So, Bobby, you got any questions?
No, none at all, thank you.
So, do you wanna move it? Or Trevor?
I'll move.
Sure.
Okay, we're gonna move her in a seconder, so we're good to go.
That's it.
Richard, you have anything you wanna add?
Nope, great meeting.
Oh, boy. All right, thank you, Bobby. Amanda, you got anything you might wanna add?
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me.
Have a good day.
Yeah, so, okay, motion to adjourn,
Motion?
moved, seconded by Councilor Duran. Thank you very much.
Definitely.
We're good.
So efficient.